Welcome to Tuesday. It's the 20th of July, 2021. Well, monsoonal moisture is increasing. It's going to be really interesting here over the next week to 10 days to see where all this monsoonal moisture ends up, who gets rain, who doesn't, who gets helped, who continues to suffer, because it's going to be a little bit of all of those things. High pressure and heat's going to remain. It's not unusual at all. In fact, you expect mid-July to mid-August, it's the hottest time of year. That's usually the time of year where a semi-permanent area of high pressure is over the west, and that's exactly what's going to be the case. So it is going to be consistently very warm to hot, depending on where you are. And monsoonal moisture, we see it moving northward. We'll show you it. Flash flooding concerns over burn scar areas. Now, this is something that in Wyoming and Colorado in particular, but also other surrounding states where there's been forest fire activity. The Mullen scar in Wyoming and the burn scars from the troublesome fire and the other fires in northern Colorado last year. We're going to see some really slow-moving, heavy rain-producing thunderstorms in the coming days in the next week or two. And for folks headed to the high country, those burn scar areas, just keep an eye out. East of the divide, out on the plains, it's going to be drier as the monsoonal moisture fetch is going to want to be along the divide. We'll show you that as well. Here's today's forecast chart. We got a big area of high pressure right over the Four Corners area. It's just a heat pump, pumping that heat up here into north central areas of the United States. As expected, the hottest temperatures were right there yesterday. Lots of 100-degree temperatures being reported. Now, this low up here is actually cooling things off a little bit in the Pacific Northwest. And I think temperatures today in the next couple of days, well, it's going to be hot. It'll be hot regardless, but it won't be as hot as yesterday. We're going to see temperatures maybe peel back about 5 to 7 degrees off those really hot temperatures yesterday. If you were to look yesterday at where the hottest of the heat was, we had lots of 100s in the Bighorn Basin of Wyoming, but look at Montana. You know, Montana and the Dakotas, Montana and North Dakota in particular really picked on this summer with the heat and dryness, as well as places like Boise and into the eastern areas of Washington and Oregon, then of course into the Great Basin. That's where the heat was yesterday. But you know what's really interesting? If you were to look at temperatures averaged out that have been measured, real measured temperatures since January 1st to yesterday, these are the temperature anomalies. So even though we're going through this major heat wave, look at how much of the south central and western areas in the United States. See all this blue? If you were to add all the temperatures together since January 1st, that area right there has had below average temperatures for the year so far. Now, Montana's heating up, obviously, but if you add up the whole year, well, they're actually close to normal. But then you can see the heat here in the Great Basin and the Pacific Northwest. Did you know Dallas, Texas, has not reached 100 this summer. This summer, Dallas has yet to reach 100 degrees. So it's been hotter in Montana than in Texas this summer. Now, I want to show you the monsoonal moisture flow. This is a satellite imagery called a water vapor image. Basically, it's the satellite seeing that high humidity air, that water vapor. We show you all the time, and I'm going to show you here in a minute, the water vapor forecast, but here you can see it on the satellite imagery. Look at this fetch. You see this gray color? This gray color shows where there's moisture in the air, deeper moisture, and you can see it's well defined. Now, this is the deep moisture. We'll put an M in here for monsoon, but the air is very dry out here on the plains, very dry here in California and across Nevada and parts of the Great Basin. But there's just this plume coming up here, and underneath this plume, all you need are mountains and daytime heating, and you're going to get showers and thunderstorms. Now, not everybody under this plume gets rained on every day, but your chances of rain-producing thunderstorms really go up. And you can see it gets all the way up through Montana, the Dakotas, and parts of southern Canada. Now, it's a little bit harder to get it to rain underneath the big ridge up here, but I think even over time as the ridge weakens, as it will, you're going to see those better thunderstorm chances move in. So that's the observed. That's the satellite seeing the water vapor, that monsoonal moisture. This is the computer model for the same time seeing it as well. And you can see it matches up pretty well, although the observed is showing that the monsoonal moisture is a little bit further east. But notice the real dry air here and the drier air here contrasting with the water vapor, and here's that arch of moisture that's coming on in. Now this is today, this is tomorrow. Notice the eastward push of that deeper monsoonal moisture. It gets closer to the divide and a little bit east of the divide, but west of the divide, the moisture stays here for the next 2 days and probably the next 3. Now this is through Friday morning. Notice all the red and the oranges down here in southwest, western Colorado, southern Utah, down here in the Four Corners area. Anywhere you see green or gray, you're going to see the most active thunderstorm activity. Then you have these bullseyes. Now, this is just a model. This is the model trying to see where the best chance of thunderstorms and the heavier rain is going to be. What I want to point out, and this is why I brought up the flash flooding concerns, you tend to have bullseyes over the higher terrain area where the lift of the atmosphere is a little bit more. And that's why you tend to get these heavier rain-producing showers and thunderstorms over the mountain areas. And that's why, especially in this area here, you may be hearing about flash flood warnings, but we could also have some concerns in burn scar areas right here as well in the coming days. Here's the subtropical moisture by next Wednesday. Notice it has an east-west axis to it, and the southwest United States actually sees the monsoon kind of break down a little bit for a little while. And you do see this. You'll see these surges like this, but all the way through at least the middle to the end of next week, that higher humidity air is going to be in place. Now look at this. Let's hope maybe those Northern California and Southern Oregon fires could get rained on mid to late next week. We'll see. We'll see if that develops or not. But certainly we do see higher water vapor content moving into the area by then. This is the 10-day forecast. This takes us out to July 30th, a week from this Friday. And you can see the center of the high pressure is more to the east with that clockwise flow bringing that higher humidity air up. And notice that the ridge of high pressure is not as strong up into here, so temperatures will moderate a little bit. In fact, what we're going to see is the Corn Belt, the Great Lakes, and the eastern areas of the United States starting to see some real bona fide heat that they really haven't seen yet this summer. If you were to look at the 10-day precipitation forecast, again, this is a model, take it with a grain of salt, but you can see the arch of deeper moisture around that high, bringing that moisture in. Look at west central Colorado. Look at the Four Corners area. I mean, that is polar opposite of what happened last year. Now, this is focused on our region. If I were to back up, I want to show you something. Notice there's not nearly as much rain forecasted right here. That's because the high is centered here and the moisture is going around it like this in an arch. So Kansas and Oklahoma, south central Nebraska, and I'm going to include extreme eastern Colorado and the panhandles here. This area here may end up being a bit of a dry hole in the next 10 days as the deeper monsoonal moisture is going to be west of the ridge and then going around east of the ridge. So we'll see whether or not this hole develops. I think it will. Not to say there won't be rain, but there won't be nearly as much rain here as there will be here in the next week or two. Have yourself a great Tuesday. We'll see you Wednesday.